and welcome to EduCurious. I'm super excited to interview our guest today, Freddie Cole. Known him for a couple years. He's amazing, and he is the assistant principal at an elementary school in our county, and he's doing great things. So welcome, Freddie. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the invite.
So you've been on a journey in education, moving up the ladder, doing great things. So I want to hear a little bit about your story. Tell me where it started, because right now you're in a great leadership position, but how did you get to that?
Well, I started about 15 years ago at a private school in Tallahassee. That was my first experience as an educator, and it was a tough situation. It was a small school, and we worked because it was a private school. We worked long hours. We worked 7 to 7 Monday through Thursday. And then Friday was our early day. We off work at 4. So I really had an opportunity to kind of like go, boots on the ground. I learned a lot that year. And then throughout, my years, I was able to expand out from that private school, which was an ESC oriented school. I was able to venture out into math and teach math at different levels. I was a PE teacher for a while. I just kind of moved around in different subject areas throughout the years. I was able to get on the administrative side as a dean at a middle school, and then that opened up a door from that point to jump right into an assistant principal position, which I've been at for the last 2 years. So it's, just kind of climbing the ranks. And honestly, most of my career, I didn't really think too much about being an administrator. I was just kind of happy with doing my job and going home and enjoying life. And then, all of a sudden I had people telling me like, you'd be a great administrator. So I went back to school, got my master's in ed leadership in 2017, 2018. Actually, 2018 is when I got it. And I just kind of held on to it until the opportunity presented itself.
What's been your favorite area or subject or age to teach?
That's well, on the teaching side of it, high school, I would say actually was my favorite. The kids are a little older. You have your few here and there that's difficult to reach, but for the most part, these are young adults. They pretty much have their mind made and what they want to do, and it's easier to have those mentoring kind of conversations with them. So high school, I would say, would definitely was the greatest experience I've had as a teacher.
You just mentioned some mentoring. Tell me about your teaching philosophy and how it's morphed into your leadership philosophy.
One of the things I hold firmly to is that students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? That's an old adage that we have used for years, but it's true. It's a true thing. And I think for me, I've always been a relational kind of a person when it comes to coworkers or when it comes to students. And that actually, ironically, has rubbed some teachers the wrong way, especially being a dean. I've done that for a couple of years. But being the dean, people expect you to be mean. Teachers want you to be mean. They want you to be that person that never smiles. But I'm the exact opposite. I build relationships with those kids, the ones that they always, feel like are the troublemakers. Those are the main ones I flock to, and I build relationships with those kids. And so when they come running up to me, hugging me, the teacher's like they're not supposed to hug you. They're supposed to be scared of you. I'm like, no, no, no. You have to understand this kid. We're building a relationship to where now I have influence. And as long as I have influence, now we can have those conversations about behavior. We can have conversations about all those different things. So that's my philosophy: build relationships, and I use that in on the administrative side as well. With the teachers. I'm not just here for X's and O's and checkpoints and making sure you're doing this and make sure you're doing that. I'm building relationships with those teachers too, which is funny because my office has become a counseling room as well throughout the day too.
So what has been one of your biggest lessons going from the classroom to admin side?
I would say one of the biggest things is just making sure that I don't forget what it's like to be a teacher, because there is a stigma that administrators don't understand what teachers are dealing with. And I get it, because, and what I've learned is that, on the administrative side, we have higher ups in the district and region and in the state that has placed expectations on us so that we have to place those expectations on the teacher. So I get how that disconnect can happen. But for me, I'm learning that I still have to maintain that memory of all the pressure that is on a teacher and all the responsibilities that are increasing that are expected of teachers as well. So just kind of keeping that balance so that even though I am holding them to a level of accountability, I don't lose the sensitivity of the fact that, it is a lot.
Tell me a little bit about your pathway to becoming an assistant principal. There's a lot of different things that you have to accomplish, that you have to go through, that you have to pass through before you are able to be a bona fide assistant principal. So
Mhm.
just walk us through that.
Yeah, well, the first thing is getting my master's. I did that some years ago. I'm grateful I did that at the time when I felt the urge to go back and get it, because it is a process. It took me about 2 years to get my master's in ed leadership. So that is the main thing, getting that degree out of the way. So I had that, taken care of. But then also you have to go through what they call the ALP. It's an Aspiring Leaders Program. And you have to register at a certain period at the beginning of the school year. And then from there, obviously, you get references from your principal, people that, those referrals and things like that. So you have to get that out of the way early on in order to do it for that year. You basically meet a couple of times a month on like a Thursday evening from 5 to 8. We had to commit ourselves after hours. And it was a lot of great teaching about some of the ins and outs of being an assistant principal, things that we need to learn, things we need to know and be aware of. They gave us a lot of homework that we had to do. And what the beautiful thing about that homework is that a lot of stuff are things that we're already doing. And so it's just about us being a little more conscientious of what we're doing so that we can get those assignments in. But yeah, it's about a 6 to 8 month process. At that point, you finish up and then you go into the pool. And once you're in the pool, then you're able to apply for different AP positions out there.
And what about the feeling?
So there's 4 sections that you have to pass. It's a lot. It covers, a lot of different areas that we really need to know that's behind the scenes, a lot of legalities and, things about how to manage teachers, how to manage classrooms, how to deal with scenarios and things of that nature. So that feeling you study for it, you'll be fine, but it's not something you just walk into, that's for sure.
Did you do that right after you got your master's or after the Aspiring Leader program? What point in your career?
I did that around the time when I was doing the ALP. So I didn't do it right when I finished my master's, which I wish I did, but at that time I didn't know anything about the Feely. I was taking my master's because back then my thought was when I get my master's, I'm ready to go. I can go ahead and apply from AP positions, and that's all I thought. But I didn't realize that there were a lot of processes because I wasn't having that conversation. I was just saying, let me get my master's so I can do it. But I took the Feely around the time when I was in the ALP course. And so I was able to get all that stuff done at the same time.
So, have you had any mentors or people that you look up to help in this process, or have you just figured it out as you go? And then, like, now you are feeling like, I'm going to make sure I let other people know, I'm going to mentor them. Like, what's that perspective?
I had a few mentors, a few people that I really look up to. My principal in Lake County before I moved here, we call her Mama Hawk. That's her nickname. And she's retired now. She just retired last year, but she's an amazing leader. She's very relational, and we had that same type of outlook in terms of that. And so she has been a person that mentors me from the time I started working for her at that high school all the way up until even till now. So I always would call her and pick her brain about certain things, about scenarios. I said, "This is how I would do it, but what do you think?" I always want to let her know this is my thought process, and she would either say, "Yeah, that's a good thought process," or "No, I don't do that." John Hill, Talay Kendrick, those two have been some amazing mentors for me, and they have helped me tremendously. When I tell you those two individuals, wealth of knowledge, and they're both very relational. They're still connected to a place where they can feel the question. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. They understand where you're coming from with certain questions that you're asking. They're able to guide and direct. Keep it real with you, which is one thing that I love about them is they'll keep it real with you, but they're also going to help you to navigate through some of the mistakes that they've made or mistakes that they've seen. So I still pick their brain as well. I send them text messages and try to get their input on things as well. So they have helped me tremendously.
What have been some of your biggest challenges in this journey, in this career in education?
Well, I think my greatest challenges came these last 2 years as an administrator, not because I'm an AP, But the challenges that I've experienced are because my 2 years as an AP was at a transformation school. And so I'm at a transformation school, which, in other words, this is a school that has underperformed for several years. So we're under the microscope of the state, right? So there's constantly week in, week out, there's constant personnel on our campus, people we don't even know who they are sometimes. They coming in and they're telling us what they're there for. And so we're always under that microscope. And then also on top of that, being a small school, I'm the only AP on the campus, so I wear multiple hats on the campus. So the principal and I, we share a lot of responsibilities, but she's the principal. So, it's not an equal share, which is fine. But I do wear a lot of hats. So I think the most challenging part of my education career is just learning how to manage so many different entities of running a school and not having another AP that I can share that responsibility with. So just, learning about facilities and things of that nature, you kind of learn sometimes to pick up a screwdrivers, a wrench to fix some things to keep from calling maintenance all the time because they get tired of all these work orders. Dealing with, I'm over the math department, so overseeing the math department. I'm over the discipline areas. So I see all of discipline. I'm the dean, I'm the disciplinarian, and the AP over discipline. I'm all of that. Um, the ESC department, I'm over the ESC department, so I oversee the legalities of those things, making sure that IEPs and everything is done with compliance. It's just a lot of different things. So for me, I don't regret any of it because if I was at a school that was not transformation and I was at a school where with multiple APs, it would have slowed down or even hindered what I've learned in this short amount of time. And I feel like it has equipped me to be a little more well versed as an AP in these 2 years being at a school with those dynamics.
Sounds like you're always up for a challenge, growth mindset, positive outlook, which is why you're so charismatic. You're like, oh yeah, figure it out. Oh yeah, we got this. And I feel like it might tie into one day when we were talking at one of those discipline meetings, I discovered that you came from a very interesting background with professional basketball. So I want to hear a little bit about how that ties into how you have a team approach and your leadership and all of those things. Tie that in your story to what you're doing right now.
Okay, yeah, so I did. I played professional basketball for 10 years. Spent a lot of time in Europe, South America. Played summer league with Denver Nuggets in 2004, so that was fun. Had a chance to play with Carmelo and a few other people. But all those experiences that I have learned as a player, a team player, those are things that help me to really bring that into the educational format. In the classroom setting as a teacher, teaching the students that we are a team, and we work together and figuring out how to problem solve as a team. If we have someone that's struggling, how do we pull together to help that individual? And that's helped in my classroom culture. The climate of my classroom is always been one of inclusiveness and working together. And I have the same mindset as an administrator, just letting the teachers know, like, yes, I may have a position or a title that is superior, to yours. However, we are a team. We work together. I'm not here to tell you what to do and demand that you do it. No, we're here to work together. So I come in with a serving mindset. I played shooting guard most of my career. So my job was to shoot the basketball most of the time. But there were times when I had to play point guard where I had to learn how to get others involved. And that's called buy-in in the education field. So I've learned how to get buy-in as well as lead from basketball into the education. So I think that's one of the things that I really can take away from playing sports is how to make that translate so that teachers know that we are a team. I know how to structure my leadership style so that there is buy-in, but at the same time, also being able to lead so that we feel like we're doing this together rather than I'm pulling people along.
What is one of your biggest accomplishments, or what are you really proud of in this part of life?
Um, I think my greatest accomplishment probably is outside of education. My greatest accomplishment is honestly keeping my family together because there's so many demands with the things that I do. It can very easily cause me to be so engulfed in my job that I lose sight of being a husband or lose sight of being a father. But just being able to find that balance, I've learned that, my job is going to either be there or not be there, right? I'm going to give my best effort while I'm there, but I also have to make sure that I give my best effort at home. And so I think my greatest accomplishment is finding balance to make sure that, moving up the ladder does not mean that I have to spend less time or be less of a husband or father at home.
How do you manage your time, or what have you learned as you've matured through this process? What are some things that you can impart on others about prioritizing time management balance?
Yeah, so I have in my office, I have a huge dry erase board, and I put on there weekly responsibilities, monthly responsibilities, and quarterly responsibilities. So I have those things itemized out as far as my job title, my job role and description. And then off on the other side, I prioritize those things and say what needs to be done this week. So I always have that updated every week. For example, next week would be March 3rd through 7th. I already have on there um, what needs to be done this week. Of those things, what am I prioritizing this week? So those become my focal point because if I don't do that, I'm going to be overwhelmed with everything that needs to be done, right? And then I'm going to be, paralyzed because I wouldn't know which one is more important, where to start. I'm able to tell people I'm not available to do that particular thing you need me to do at this time because I have to get these things done. Like I'm able to do that rather than just, and I've seen assistant principals and I've seen principals can't ever get their own job done because they don't prioritize. And every time somebody needs them, they come running. And things like that. So I've learned that it's okay to be able to tell people I can't do that right now. But don't forget about them, of course. Still be there for people. But just learning that there's certain things that you have to be able to prioritize and say, I am going to help you, but I can't stop what I'm doing in this moment to take care of that, but I will take care of it later on today or whatever the case is. So it's huge. It relieves a lot of stress. Um, and the to-do list never ends, but you feel more accomplished when you have a sense of direction of what it is that you need to accomplish today or this week or this month or this quarter.
Do
Mhm.
you have any favorite resources or leadership books? The priority and time stuff reminds me of the Dan Martell Buy Back Your Time book, but do you have some favorite go-tos that inspire you resource-wise?
Anything John Maxwell. I don't have a specific favorite book of his. Everything that I've read from him, it's just been eye-opening, enlightening, and it's helped me to really focus in on how to build other people up. How to present myself as a servant, because that's how you build leaders, right? You build leaders through serving, and and so he's my guy. He's my go-to. I have a shelf of books, all John Maxwell. If you're in my office, you see all of that. So you see pictures of me and him everywhere. I mean, he's just the guy that I go to.
What is your direction looking like in the next couple of years? What do you want to accomplish or do? Or
After my third year, I do want to pursue being a principal. So I have one more year, 25, 26 school year. That's my last year of I would say, waiting. And then at that point, I want to go into or prepare myself to be. Actually, I'm preparing myself now, but as far as being a principal, I would love to be a principal year 4, no later than year 5 of being on the administrative side. Personal goals, I've started a consulting business that at the end of 2024, and that consulting it carries a wide range of consultation, whether it be educational for leaders, educational for educators, for teachers. It covers a lot of different things. So that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I feel like now is a good time to launch that business, to be a resource of hope, a resource of wisdom, the little bit that I have. I'm not saying I'm the wisest person out there by far, but my experiences, I believe, can really help a lot of people. So just building up that platform over the next couple of years to be that resource for in the education field.
so, Freddie, tell me a little bit about your perspective on professional development, fitting that in as one more thing on a teacher's plate or an administrator's plate.
It's so important. Professional development is what keeps you sharp. No matter how high you go, no matter how many years you've been doing it, I believe professional development is always important to keep you sharp. So as an educator, you could be in the same grade level for 20 years. That sounds good, but that can also be a hindrance, right? Because you've gotten so much experience that you feel like there's nothing else out there for you. And then you could become stagnant, right? Because these are things that seen that works when things are steadily evolving, things are steadily changing, and kids are changing, right? And so this, I think, professional development from an educator's perspective is valuable. And I remember early in my career, I shunned it. I just like, I know what I'm doing. And I found myself getting behind the ball. I wasn't able to connect with kids as much as I wanted to. I wasn't able to teach lessons as effectively as I used to. And then professional development, once I embraced it, I realized like that's huge because I know what I know, but there's different ways of teaching that kids respond to that I have to continue to have my mind open to. And the same as an administrator, it's things are changing, dynamics are changing, people are changing, and I've learned that managing a school is directly related to how you're able to manage different personalities of adults. You know, and so professional development helps to keep it sharp. So that way we can, continue to move forward with the school vision.
What do you think are some professional development opportunities in the near future that teachers should be preparing for? Whether there be laws changing, new technology, innovations, like that kind of thing. What do you see like in the near future?
Uh, you mentioned technology. I think that's huge because everything is going, we're all shifting to technology base. And, I was at a professional development a couple of days ago, getting ready for PM3 testing. And they were talking about at the high school level I want to say it was either PM2 or PM1 this year, they had over 100 tests were invalidated because of technology. Students were, they had these shades that they would wear. They were smart glasses, and they could actually use that. I don't know how they do it. Again, that's stuff that we have to learn. But they're able to use those glasses to solicit answers. And they had over 100 kids that went from level 1 to level 5 from 1 p.m. to the next. And so that obviously raised red flags, and they had different types of technology that they were able to use. And so what that does is it allows us to see that, that's not the kids' fault. That's the evolution of technology, the things that we have access to nowadays, that we should all be learning. I think that we all should learn how AI works because I know that AI is a really huge thing right now. Um, it provides instant response and instant answers to things, and just being able to utilize all the different things out there the right way.
How do you think we can best recruit and retain quality educators?
Money. I'm just
Fair.
being honest with you. It's
Yeah.
money, because we're surrounded by counties that pay more. We think about Hillsborough County, you think about Orange County, um, and there's probably a couple others, but I know in particular these are counties that pay more. And obviously we can't control that. I think it's just based on population and things of that nature. But if we were able to offer financial incentives, I believe that would draw attention for people to come here. When you have Orange County, you have Orlando, Universal Studios, Disney, you have all those attractions, plus you have a pretty decent salary. When you think about Hillsborough County, you have beaches and you know football and professional teams over there, that draws people and they pay more. And I think with us being in between those two, I just think that we don't necessarily have professional sports per se to offer here. But I think if we were able to compete financially with them, then we can have those discussions to bring in. And we have some quality teachers that are here, but unfortunately, from what I've seen, some are moving to those other areas because they pay more. But if we can compete with bonuses, or any type of incentive of those natures, I think that more people will be willing to come here. I mean, now let's not get it twisted. Polk County is one of the top growing districts in all of Florida, and I believe Winter Haven in particular is one of the great fastest growing cities in the nation. So I think it's a matter of time before things turn around, but I think it would be great that while people are clinging on to moving to this area, I think those educators are looking to see, well, what's the pay scale look like? And I think if we can actually have those things in place while the cities are growing and while we're getting national recognition, I think that we could really bring in some more qualified or quality teachers.
Well, thanks so much, Freddie, for joining us today on EduCurious. I loved hearing what you had to say, your perspective, and the fact that you've actually gone through so many different areas, subject areas, grade levels, and you've put in the work to become an amazing leader in our system. It's fantastic. So join us next time on EduCurious. We'll have an exciting interview lined up from someone that is from one of the different areas of education. Could be transportation, could be PTO, teacher, paraprofessional, substitute. We need to find out more about what we're all doing to help the students. And that's the main thing. And we can all learn from each other. So thanks so much and see you next time.